like I said, we're going to go into yin type stretching or just static holds and a little discussion of goal setting. If at any point you need to leave, I thank you so much for attending, and I cannot wait to see you in the new year, or maybe at 9 o'clock in the glute class. Okay, so the first stretch that we're going to go into is my absolute favorite, pancake or straddle. So as we sit in this stretch, you do want to try to sit up nice and tall, okay? If you cannot do so with a straight spine, it is advised, you would be advised to sit on something so that you have that length. And then from here, just these, to whatever degree you feel comfortable, a lean forward. As I'm talking, you'll see that I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna stretch, I'm gonna lengthen, and I'll get closer and closer towards the floor, okay? So it's just a nice straddle position here. We'll be here for about 3 minutes, and then we'll be switching over. So, goal setting. This is something that changes, I think, every single year for me. As I grow, as I learn, as my spiritual path deepens, it definitely affects my outlook on life, for sure. And so the big revelation this year has been aligning or acknowledging what my inner purpose is and trying to align that with my outer purpose. So our inner purpose, and this can be different for everyone, but in general, our inner purpose is to become awakened, to become present, to become mindful, to not be in our heads so much, and to just be in the present moment. And when we have that at the forefront of our mind, it then becomes easier to have our outer purpose be something that is really, truly gratifying, which then comes into this question of, what is it that you are seeking out of life? Do you want to just go through the motions? Or do you want to feel alive? Do you want to feel full of gratitude? Do you want to feel present? Do you want to feel energetic? Do you want to be thriving? Or do you want to just kind of be a bot in some sense that just kind of does all the check marks, right? And so if you take your inner purpose, which is to become awakened, to become mindful, to become present, and you put that into your everyday efforts and this idea of goal setting, what is it in regards to business or work, personal, perhaps financial, and then in this case fitness, what of those 4 areas, like what would make you feel most alive? What would make you feel most gracious, most like full of gratitude, like oozing with gratitude in life, right? So that's kind of the background of where I come from when I go into my 4 quadrants, which I did just mention them, but I'm going to mention them again. We're going to switch our position here, and then I'll go into those 4 quadrants. So our next stretch, we're going to set ourselves up for pigeon. And if pigeon doesn't feel good for you, you can always come into a seated figure 4 position. And then my other favorite way of doing this is putting myself up against a wall and pushing, which if you're trying to write notes, that might be a little difficult, but I digress. So what I do is I take a sheet of paper and I divide it into, or if I'm being truthful, I take a journal and I do a horizontal line across it. In the top left quadrant, I put personal. I just title personal. In the top right, I put financial, which truthfully this year I've only done 3 quadrants, but I also revise my things a bunch of times. So right now there's currently 3, and my 3 are personal, business, and fitness. The reason I personally didn't include financial is because my business and my personal seem to have some financial goals in them. And so I kind of melded them in there. But if you are somebody who likes to kind of keep things separate, I would go with 4 quadrants as opposed to the 3 that I have started with. So once again, personal, business or work, career, fitness, and then the addition of financial if you feel like that's necessary for you. When we go through goals, there's this acronym that is used, has been used for years, centuries probably, and it's SMART. And that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time. Like there has to be a timeline on it. So when we think of our goals, they have to be clear goals. They can't be fluffy, like loose, non-specific goals. They have to be specific. It helps so much. And in the case that this is a fitness class, I'm going to bring this into fitness. So again, there are the other quadrants, but I'm going to focus solely on fitness. So specific fitness goals. This is where it gets a little blurry, because sometimes, what if your goal is, I just want to feel good in my body? You can't, it's not, that's somewhat specific, but it's also not measurable, which is the second one. How do you measure how you feel? I guess you can set up a scale for yourself of 1 to 10, 1 being I feel like shit, 10 I feel amazing, and you can assess yourself. You can bring yourself kind of into like daily check-ins, right? But having specific, clear goals is really important. So for example, my fitness goals, some of my fitness goals for this year, I don't do 14ers because I get altitude sickness. But my goal this year is to hit 3 14ers. I did not specify which ones. So when I revise my goals, I will go in and I will specify which 3 I want to hit. Another fitness goal for me is I want to achieve a strict muscle up. Another fitness goal for me is I want to achieve 10 strict pull-ups and 15 strict chin-ups. So again, those are specific goals. I can either hit them or I can't, right? That also goes into the next one, which is measurable. So are your goals measurable? Is it something that you can track the progress of? Okay, that's really important. Now when it comes to weight loss, that's something that is measurable. You could step on a scale. I'm not a big scale person. I don't really love that. I personally think that photos are better. But even photos are measurable, right? You can see a change. You could use tape measures. That's also a way to see change. Please note though, when you use tape measures, if you are strength training, sometimes you do gain mass, right? So you've got to also make sure that you're setting yourself up for success mentally. The next one, attainable. Are your goals attainable? Or in other words, are they realistic? Is it realistic for me to hit all, we'll switch sides on that pigeon. Is it realistic for me to hit 10 14ers when I know I struggle with altitude sickness? Probably not. In fact, I'm going to say no. Right? Is it realistic for me to say in February I'm going to run a 100-mile race? No. Is it realistic for me to say in November I will run a 100-mile race? Yeah. That's realistic. I could train for that. That gives me ample time to train for it. So setting yourself up for success, just like when you start these workouts, I try to start the workouts with what are your intentions for today, and then a little check-in. Where is your stress at? How did you eat? How did you sleep? So that you can have a realistic expectation, a realistic outcome for like what this workout can provide for you, right? Are your goals relevant? Is it something that is even like pertains to you? Or is it something just like you pulled it out of thin air, right? Make sure your goals are relevant to you. Please don't ever do anything for anyone else. Like this is so important. Don't do something. I mean, I grew up thinking that I had to be married, have a house, kids by like 25. Those were goals that I had that were not relevant to me. Clearly those did not pan out. But being like, check in with yourself. Is this goal, are your goals your goals? Or are they things that you think you should be doing? Are they things that are relevant to you, to your life, to your purpose, to your inner purpose, to your outer purpose? The next one, the last one, is make your goals time bound, right? So set a date. And again, make sure that that is realistic. Set a date to when you will accomplish X, Y, and Z. So that's the last piece that I go through. So again, I've written out in my 3 quadrants, I guess that's not a quadrant, right? Quadrant 4. But in my 3 categories, I've written out my goals, but I have not attached any timelines to them yet. So in the next few days, that's where I'll go through, and I'll start to really check in with myself. What is realistic? Like how long do I think I can train for this? And when we're thinking specifically to fitness goals, like when I'm thinking of going into, okay, I want to achieve the 10 strict pull-ups. So pull-ups being this position, hands over a bar like this, 10 strict pull-ups. If I do a 10-week training program, I could probably get 6. So I gotta I have to start, and I can help you with your fitness goals. That's where it's really, really important that I can't help you if you don't tell me what you're trying to achieve. But if you do fill me in, I can try to keep you on track. We'll go into a seated supine twist. So pulling this leg in and giving it a good pull first before we fully twist. I can help you kind of check in with what is actually realistic, just because I do know kind of progression and how the body can adapt and how it can realistically adapt. Same with like running, if you wanted to do any kind of trail events or road events, I have a pretty decent understanding of how long it would take somebody to train for something. We'll go into that full twist now. So reviewing goals, and again, we're gonna hold this for about a minute, so don't go too hard on this twist. Just let your spine naturally kind of sit in the twist and sit up nice and tall. So it's important, and this is something that I fail at often. I write these goals down, they're in my journal, and then I never revisit until 6 months in, or maybe 8 months in, and I'm like, oh, what the hell, I didn't even stay on top of these things, I might as well just forget them. So setting reminders in your phone or on a calendar, a visual somewhere, to remind you to go back to check in. So this year I'm committed to checking in quarterly. Every single quarter I will be checking in on my goals. And here's the other thing, quarterly is actually not enough for me. I need a weekly check-in. I need to be revisiting these goals over and over and over and over again, and allowing yourself to make revisions. We'll switch sides. So things come up, right? Maybe all of a sudden what was a realistic goal really is not realistic. Maybe a pandemic happens and all of a sudden all of your beautiful ideas of where you would be and what you would be doing and how life would feel are totally shifted, and they're kind of out of your control, right? So we have to also allow for the ability to shift, right? That has to be taken into account. It can be helpful. I kind of touched on this briefly just then, but it can be helpful to have a visual. Some people like to make a vision board. A vision board can be a collage of things pertaining to your goals. It could be a word collage. It doesn't have to be images. It can be whatever calls you, but serves as a motivational push, a motivational reminder of this is what I'm trying to achieve. Now, when we come to the fitness world, way back in the day, I would make vision boards, and my vision boards were of these unattainable bodies. And that was when I kind of got into my eating disorders and all of the body dysmorphia. So be mindful of what you're putting up. Again, is it realistic? Is it motivating, but is it realistic, right? Let it drive you from a good place, not from a toxic place. We'll come out of that twist. The final piece, the final piece that I think is important, and this kind of goes into the quarterly check-ins or any type of check-ins, is giving yourself time, which is much harder when you have littles, but giving yourself time, little me time, to check in. Where am I at? And especially when it comes to goals that aren't necessarily fully measurable. So again, I want to feel good in my body, or say you're somebody like myself who never loved herself and you want to start to love yourself. How do you measure that? Again, creating some type of check-in with yourself of where am I at today? How do I feel about myself? What is coming up for me? developing some type of scale for yourself of, again, like 1 being like, I don't really feel that great about myself today, 10 being I feel on top of the world, and just checking in and releasing any judgment, right? Because you're going to have days where you're just not there, right? But releasing the judgment and allowing yourself to just be in whatever it is that you're in. But again, keeping yourself in this forward progression, knowing it's not linear. That was a big lesson for me this year. Progression is not linear. It kind of goes like, like this, it's all over the place. But just having compassion for yourself and forgiveness and grace, and allowing yourself to go after whatever these goals are, knowing that you very well may fail, and who cares? Try again. Keep going after them. When it comes to your fitness goals, you are going to fail. It's going to happen. And then you'll have a success. And then you'll fail. And then you'll succeed. And and then all of a sudden you get more successes than you do failures. Right? And that's the way this all works. So that's my goals chat. Does anyone have questions? I really cannot encourage you enough to share your goals, whether it's with me or anyone, but usually, like, so write them down and then share them, because if you share them, it helps you to stay accountable, right? And again, I'm happy to hear all your goals, but when it comes to fitness, I am more than happy. I encourage you to share your fitness goals with me. Again, because then I can help you, and I can help you to at least stay accountable. Like, hey, are you doing these daily action steps? That's another piece that I didn't really touch on. There are daily action steps to achieving goals, and that's something that I tend to kind of miss on my end. But there are little things that you can do every single day to help you get to your goals. Little tiny things. If you're trying to improve your squat, every single time you sit on the toilet, make sure your knees drive out to the sides. Every single time you go up the stairs, make sure you're in external rotation. If you're trying to get a pull-up, every single time you walk by monkey bars, get on up and try. Or just hang, because you need to develop that grip strength. If you're trying to get a stronger core, give yourself 2 minutes every single night or day, sometime during the day, to just focus on isometric core hold or some other sort of core work, but just a little like check-in, like connect. You all see on my Instagram every single morning, I am in the mirror and I write on it, I love you. Like, I committed every single day. It takes me a song, sometimes not even the full song, but I committed to that shit and it worked. It worked, right? Just a little bit of time every single day. But yeah. Any questions? I don't know. It's so weird to do these talks when like there's no feedback. No pressure. You don't have to unmute. You're good. But just know that I'm here to help you. And I appreciate you all. And I want to see you succeed in life and in fitness and all the things. So, yeah. Yeah. Is this specific to fitness or just anything? Okay. I mean, yeah. So this is, I think you get a little bit more, it can be intimidating for sure. And we can get in our heads because it's like, well, what should my goals be? And so release the should and just maybe grab a piece of paper and just go into this like 5 minute, 3 minute, maybe 3 minutes, set a timer and just write word, like word vomit, asking yourself, maybe perhaps, and I'll send out a newsletter with a prompt about this, but one question that I would ask myself is, what am I seeking out of this life? Because then all of a sudden, like, these sensations come up, and then from those sensations, I can find a path to find that sensation. Does that make sense? Again, when I break my goals into, whether it's quadrants or the 3 categories, when I go into personal, I ask myself, okay, in this next year, what do I hope to achieve in my personal life? And for me, at this moment, it's kind of more matters of get out of debt, or save money for a down payment on a house, or if I don't want a house, save a down payment for a van. Like, you know, do I want to, like, another thing that that's on my personal list is increase my meditation to 45 minutes a day. So it's like, it can be these, really anything that you think is going to bring you into a greater sense of in my opinion, aliveness and joy, and like, what are the juicy things, Cecily, that like bring you to life, right? And how do you get more of that? And how do you just be more present in all of that? What are the things that make you feel your absolute best and alive? When it comes to fitness, especially if you're somebody who's kind of new to strength training, that can be overwhelming. But think of, we've got some basic movement patterns. We've got squat, deadlift, push, pull, and let's just focus on those 4. So push, can you do a full push-up? Can you do a full push-up with your whole entire chest touching the floor, not your nose, not your chin, but your chest touching the floor? If not, that's a goal. And don't pick that goal just because I said that, but because you want it, right? Like, only pick goals that you want, that you think would make you feel alive, like a badass, like whatever. Same with a pull-up. So if you pull, so it could be pull-ups, it could be rows. If you are using 12 pounds in all of our renegade rows, or 10 pounds anytime we do those plank rows, maybe a goal is at the end of March, I want to be rowing with 15s. And then by the end of November, I want to be rowing with 20s, right? And that's a pretty big jump. So again, I can help you assess that, but those are just some examples. When it comes to squat, at-home workouts, it's a little difficult to get anywhere close to a 1 rep max on, say, a squat or a deadlift, just because we don't have heavy weights. But we could do assessments such as, can I squat to parallel, so butt to the depth of your knees with a completely straight spine, no butt wink. And when I say straight spine, I don't mean vertical, but it can be here, just no tucking of your butt. Can I sit in, this is a good one, right? Can I sit? This took me 3 months to get. I could never do this. It took me 3 months of daily work to get into that position. Maybe that's a goal. We can go into mobility goals. And there's so much with fitness, like so much, but any little improvement can be a goal. It doesn't have to be this big milestone, right? Does that make sense? Did that help you on that? Yeah? Does anyone else do we need to dig further into that one? No? Any other questions? Merritt, it's your room right now. Just... Yeah. It's really interesting how it like silhouettes you. You're so welcome. Good to see you, and bye. Happy New Year. Meredith and Cecily, do either of you have any other questions? Yeah. So just as a reference point, the reason my goal is not 1 is because I have that baseline. 1 is a fantastic goal, like fantastic. When you get to the top of a bar on your first ever pull-up, the ecstatic sensation that you have throughout, it's just insane. And you need to film it. You don't need to film it, but it is a moment that you'll never forget. So in fact, screw film, you don't need to film it, but you'll just never forget it. It's one of the most gratifying sensations. It really is. It's just incredible. I want that for you. Aww. I'm happy to help you with that, Meredith. And also, the pull-up program will be developed soon. And just so you know, I know you ordered the Rogue pull-up bar. I ordered mine 2 weeks ago. I didn't track the shipping, but it's not here yet, so it is seems a little slow. But once that's here, we'll get going on that. Okay. Cecily, anything else from you? Yeah. You'll give yourself also like a couple renditions, right? Like a revision here and there. I tend to live day by day, and so it can be very overwhelming to sit down and be like, this is what I'm going to achieve this year. It's like you feel very fixed, and like I'm very against feeling fixed. I don't like control, yeah. So I understand the flow. You don't have to stick to any of it, but it's just like, yeah, sitting and asking yourself, like, what is it that what do I want? And what's really beautiful about that question alone, is we start to understand what isn't ours. What we're kind of carrying as our own desires, which really aren't ours. They're desires that society tells us we should have. For example, me thinking when I was younger, I needed to have a house, kids, and full-on career by 25, right? Like, yeah, these certain things, that wasn't my own thing. That wasn't my path, right? But yeah, I'll send out, I have time before glute class, I will send out an email with some prompts. And I think that can be helpful. Okay? Cool. Well, if I don't see you, are you guys coming to class next? All right. Well, I will see you at 9 in an hour. Bye. If I don't see you, Cecily, Happy New Year. Bye.